Okay, Mr. Chair, the time is now 12 p.m. You can call the meeting to order, and then we'll have our city attorney make some remarks.
I'd like to call the meeting to order and at this time turn the meeting over to the city attorney to make some remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. As we begin today's meeting, I would like to acknowledge Catherine's contributions to the animal shelter and her dedication to the thousands of animals that have been temporary residents here at the city's shelter during her 13-year tenure with the city. As I'm sure we can all appreciate, her contributions have been impactful and will soon not be forgotten. As we enter into the public comments portion of today's agenda, and based upon the importance of the discussion item on today's agenda, I'm going to ask that the board and all participants in today's meeting follow city council guidelines during today's meeting and be courteous and respectful of others and act with dignity and treat each other as we would like to be treated. I'm going to encourage all participants to provide constructive, helpful suggestions in a respectful manner and ask that we refrain from making personal attacks on individuals and their personal viewpoints. Thank you for allowing me to speak here today. I look forward to hearing your ideas and appreciate your continued support and participation as we as a team embark on this important process.
Thank you. At this time, we will continue with item number 3, public comments. Were there any written comments submitted?
Yes, sir. We have 2 written, and one is on the line, and she will be, she'll say her comment. So I'm going to start by reading the first one. This is from Jenny Hensley, and her address is 8020 Booth Line Road.
Good morning, everybody.
Richmond, Texas, 77469. And she states, I'm writing this letter to express my sadness and anger regarding the termination of Ms. Ketchum. As a former city employee with Animal Services of 8 years and part of Animal Services for the last 11 years, I feel justified and vested to write this. I find it comical and hypocritical that you stress to your employees to follow the city's core values. Ms. Ketchum exemplifies these values. You will not find a more dedicated and hardworking employee. The shelter had 3 experienced, knowledgeable, and seasoned employees. 1 retired, the 2nd resigned, and the 3rd one was terminated. Now you are left with a few 20-something-year-old employees who do not have the experience or knowledge to run the shelter. You say you care about the welfare of the animals and you want our shelter to be the best in Texas while at the same time terminating your biggest animal advocate. This raises many questions. When a winter storm or hurricane threatens our city, will it be Nicole or Stacy who spends the night at the shelter to make sure the animals are safe? When a resident calls us to tell us a 10-foot alligator is in their front yard, will it be Nicole or Stacy who jumps on the alligator, wraps his head in towel to move him safely? When baby ducks are stuck in a muddy storm drain in the middle of summer, will it be Nicole or Stacy who will rescue them? When a business calls and tells us there's a trash bag full of puppies, will it be Nicole or Stacy who jumps in the dumpster to rescue them? When kitten season begins and the shelter is anyway with hundreds of kittens, will it be Nicole or Stacy who fosters them with around-the-clock care while at the same time doing their full-time job? When a puppy comes to the shelter with swimmer's leg and requires around-the-clock physical therapy so it can walk, will it be Nicole or Stacy who will help? I could go on and on about the above and beyond dedication of your former employee, Ms. Ketchum. I keep asking myself why Ms. Ketchum wasn't offered early retirement so she could keep her say goodbyes to the staff and hundreds of volunteers. Instead, what a few people witnessed is Ms. Ketchum being escorted to her car like a common criminal. The people making these horrible decisions sit in another building behind a desk and they have no clue to the stress. The hard work of countless hours of physical and mental work that it takes to keep the shelter running. On a personal note, I want to express my gratitude to Ms. Ketchum for all the support and guidance she has given me over the last 11 years. From accountant of 25 years to a kennel attendant, I've learned so much from her and I'm a better person for knowing her. Thank you for your time. Signed, Jenny Hensley. I also have a second one from Miriam Khan, and her address is 2115 Grand Terrace, Sugar Land, Texas, 77479. I believe we created in this world to love and admire all God's creations, every living thing that matters, especially those that are helpless and can't speak for themselves. I love my pets and I love the homeless ones even more and would like to see all the healthy and treatable animals to be placed in good homes and enjoy life like mine at my house. It is my understanding that we're about to break ground to build a 6.6 million new facility very soon. The capital project will also require a local nonprofit foundation to raise 2.2 million to do the enhancements. This is an exciting time for us in our region. I cannot wait to see our new facility to be run by new management who can take the operation to the highest level of humane treatment that we can all be very proud of. Americans love animals, and it is a trend in our country these days. I follow a lot of rescue stories on social media and donate whenever I can. I also follow the developments in Rosenberg, Katy, as well as in Houston, Pearland, and Austin. I have learned that when we do the right things by animals, people will offer assistance with their time and money. No doubt, generosity towards animal welfare charities is always on the rise. To find the best candidate to represent the compassion we have in Sugar Land, I request our city to do a national search to find the most suitable person to take the job. The best candidate should be willing and committed to no kill to reflect our community value. This value happens to be a big building block for our humanity. I would also prefer someone to have the knowledge of no kill and the strategy to transition to make the multi-million-dollar facility a shining example in the region. I also believe that the commitment to ensure life affirming options for every animal every time is precious of fundraising success in every aspect of animal welfare. This is a fresh start for our animals in Sugar Land. Please consider taking our input to become the shining example of a 21st century humane shelter in the region. Thanks for the opportunity. And now we will be letting in Sumita Ghosh, and she's the only one that we have to speak. Ms. Ghosh, can you please state your name and your address, please? You unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Sumita Ghosh, and do you need my address and all that? Okay, my address is 4607 Kennesaw Court, Sugar Land, Texas 77479. Should I start? Okay. Should I start? Okay, I'll start.
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, so thank you again, board members and everyone involved for giving me the opportunity to speak. So by practice, I'm a patent attorney, so I've been out of town and I just got back yesterday, but this seemed like a really important opportunity for the city of Sugar Land, since it is our bond money as a resident of Sugar Land. I've lived here since 1992, and I've seen a lot of changes. And I didn't know the circumstances of the hiring personnel changes and all of that, but I did want to emphasize what the previous person had written, that this is our big chance. I mean, opportunities like to spend almost $9 million doesn't come along often. And so I really wanted to emphasize that we should do a national search and find someone who's open-minded and innovative. I mean, there's a lot of new thinking and a lot of new ideas that are coming up in the animal welfare community, and especially no kill. And so I was hoping that the board would think about really doing a national search with someone who's open. And the other thing would be transparency and the ability to delegate, which are common leadership qualities, but if you don't have to rely on Nicole and Stacy to come in at midnight. If there are awesome new hires that are available to do it, that are almost as capable. I've been a VP. I've been legal counsel to IACUC, which is an institutional animal use and advisory committee. And I always said, if I get hit by a truck, I need to know that there are people below me that can take over. And so someone who's of national stature, has innovative ideas, and can delegate and pull in people who want to work for her because they love the job, he or she, because they love the job, and really put something new and amazing together, because this is, again, a once in a lifetime opportunity. And also to emphasize that maybe they consider looking into making Sugar Land an official no-kill facility. And also maybe do innovative things like work with the school district. I have 2 elementary and middle school kids, and there's a thirst and a burning desire in the kids to get involved with animals. And so integrating innovative ideas that integrate like Fort Bend ISD students and things like that. So that's it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Chair, we can move on to the first item.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. At this time, we will move on to item number 4. Item A, review of and discussion on the strategy to manage and fill vacancies within the Animal Services Division. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Stacy Henderson.
Hello, thank you. So today we are going to talk about strategies for filling the vacancies within the Animal Services Program. We currently have 3 vacancies within the Animal Services Program. The Administrative Coordinator is the first vacancy. That position recently became vacant when after 22 years with the City of Sugar Land, the staff member in that position notified us in September of 2020 of their planned retirement at the end of January of this year. The second vacancy is an Animal Services Officer who recently was promoted to the Animal Shelter Supervisor position. That position had become vacant after the previous shelter supervisor accepted a position within another city department. And then the Animal Services Manager position that is currently vacant as well. As we walk through the strategies, I wanted to first note that Catherine's devotion to the care of the animals of Sugar Land during her over 13-year tenure was extremely caring, significant, and widely recognized. Also, the hard work of our animal shelter staff and volunteers will allow us to move forward and continue the growth of ongoing programs and initiatives. Next slide, please. Numerous steps are currently being taken to support the Animal Services Division and staff. The Administrative Coordinator responsibilities have temporarily been shared with other Environmental and Neighborhood Services Department administrative staff members. The Assistant Director is completing shelter supply purchases and coordinating the volunteer software management and scheduling process. Outreach is currently being conducted to build upon the dedicated pool of volunteers. We continue as needed, and human resources. Is okay? I think my connection may have.
Yes, your connection went away for a little bit, so you might want to stay on this slide, please.
Okay, no problem. I'll start over on this slide. All right, so numerous steps are currently being taken to support the Animal Services Division and the staff. The Administrative Coordinator responsibilities have temporarily been shared with other Environmental and Neighborhood Services Department administrative staff. The Assistant Director is completing regular shelter supply purchases and coordinating the volunteer software management and scheduling process. Outreach is currently being conducted to build upon the dedicated pool of volunteers. We continue to utilize subject matter experts as needed. And human resources is coordinating labor pool needs and the assignment of city staff from other departments to support the shelter staff where needs arise. Next slide, please. In regards to position recruitment, the city is currently under a hiring freeze. However, we have received the authorization to move forward with filling these vacancies. We plan to proceed with the city-led recruitment of the administrative coordinator and animal services officer positions, and will utilize the city's advertisement, application review, interview, and selection process to fill these positions. Next slide, please. A recruitment firm will be utilized to assist in identifying animal services manager candidates. The firm will work to recruit candidates nationally and will focus on continuing to build upon the city's existing philosophies regarding the care of animals and enforcement regulations. And a short list of those candidates would be shared with city staff. During the interview process, there will be 2 rounds of interviews conducted by different interview panels of city employees from various departments and levels of management. We ask that the Animal Advisory Board Chair, Dr. Cox, participate on the final interview panel. Next slide, please. Today, we are seeking the Animal Advisory Board's input regarding the desired qualifications and characteristics of the Animal Services Manager. Once the recruitment and selection process concludes, we would plan to introduce the Animal Services Manager to the Animal Advisory Board at a future meeting. Next slide, please. At this point, I would like to open the discussion for your feedback regarding the qualifications and characteristics that you think are important for the Animal Services Manager.
I can start. Can y'all hear me? Hey, this is Jen Ross. I support the speakers. I think it's time that Sugarland, we've done a great job on almost everything, and it's time for us to take the next step, and it's time for us to become no kill. So I would hope that we can find a candidate who supports that philosophy.
Does anyone else have any ideas on the qualifications and characteristics for the Animal Services Manager?
I'll just say a couple words. I don't know all of the circumstances, but one thing that comes to my mind is you're really going to need somebody that is a good leader that can bring everybody together and kind of smooth over some things that have gone. It sounds like, with volunteers and new staff, someone that's got really, really great people skills.
Do y'all have any thoughts on education, years of experience, what you think might be needed for this position?
Well, it's going to have to be someone who has at least experience with dealing our size city and somewhat same needs that we have as an animal control board.
The current position required a bachelor's degree. Do you feel that that is still appropriate? I see
Yes.
Jenna. Okay.
I do.
I just don't know without seeing the present job description how we can add or subtract what is needed. We don't even know what the qualifications are. We don't even know what some of the needs that the city of Sugar Land needs of us on the board. I mean, it's fine to get us together and listen to what everybody is chit-chatting on, but it's just a communicative board without knowing more background, I think, on the position needed to be fulfilled.
Well, I mean, just generally speaking, what are your thoughts on years of experience? I mean, kind of based on the work that the board has done, the different programs we've reviewed, and the discussions that we've had, and the operations of the shelter. Do you have any thoughts on, what type of experience the manager may need in supervisory leadership, or whether that is years of experience in an animal services related field? I mean, are you looking for someone who has, quite a few years of experience, or someone, kind of between entry level and, 20 plus years? I mean, what
Would it be possible? Oh, sorry. Would it be possible for us to maybe see the quality of the resumes if we had like a 4, a 6, and an 8-year cutoff, and then we could decide further?
I'm actually going to let our human resources director, Paula Kuchka, answer that question related to the review of resumes.
Sorry, I had to find my mute button. So typically we can have the consultant group the candidates by that, but we do need to set a threshold for a minimum. At this level position, something between 5 and 7 years is commonplace to at least have that minimum threshold. So Stacy's question to the board is, do you feel comfortable having that threshold at 5 years of experience? And obviously we would want to include a combination of some supervisory responsibility to ensure the candidates come with both years of experience in the animal field as well as with people. Or would you like to see something a little more tenured and maybe set the threshold at that 7? That means that anybody that comes in, regardless of what they bring to the table, if they are not at that threshold, they won't move forward in the process. But we obviously don't want to set that threshold too low, because we do need to have some level of screening based on what your expectations are. And so we definitely want to hear your feedback. The same thing with the degree requirement. So that is good information. Obviously, we would look for someone who has a bachelor's degree, but we might put in the posting master's is something that we would consider as well. But we don't want to consider someone without at least that level of degree, being bachelor's. So the years of experience is something that goes along with it, because we need to give the consultant clear direction. But obviously people that come in with more than what our threshold is will definitely be considered.
Thank you. I would like to add that, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, Ellen.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I would hope 7 at least would be a minimum, but I think we also have to look at where their experience was. I mean, if somebody's coming from somewhere like the Houston, the SPCA or something, well, that's one thing, and that's great if they were a senior person. If they were coming from some, no offense, podunk shelter in Texas or something, that's different. So I think we have to look at where they've been, how long they've been there. Do we have references? Do they have a volunteer program that's advanced like ours? What's the size of their staff? Lots of different things. I'm a little disappointed that I'm hearing that the board has no input, except for Dr. Cox, on the choice of the person. Why are we on the board? We're supposed to be there. It's an advisory board. And maybe we don't make the final decision, but I would like to think we have some input on a lot of these decisions that are being made. And we know very little of what's going on. So I'm questioning, I know the board size was increased because of the new shelter, but still, that's not being done right now. And there's a lot of other things going on that we could provide advice on, and that's what we're there for. And we joined the board, and we were selected to the board for a reason. And I know several of us regarding, or at least a few of us regarding the no-kill and some other things that have been decided were done before some of us got on the board. And I'm not saying it all. I agree with no-kill, but I think it needs to maybe be addressed so that we all know the downside of it and why it was not voted on, and make sure we're all on the same page there, and that we're going to get pushback that we have to be prepared to defend. Thank you.
Okay, this comes into what Ellen just said. When we are looking for a new manager, it's going to have to be a manager who has the compassion to make the decision on a life and death situation, and definitely has to be a minimum of, sorry guys. Definitely would have to have somebody with a minimum of 5 years. Basically, definitely has to have supervisory experience. They will have to actually sort of know how working with the city government works, because we are dealing with a city government entity, and that needs to be addressed also.
Does anyone else have any thoughts or input on the qualifications or any of the recommendations that have been made?
This is John. What was done at the time of hiring the last manager?
At the hiring of the last manager, that was over 13 years ago. We would need to touch base with human resources because many of us weren't here at that time. But we can get any information and provide that.
Well, the records might have some indication of the minimum criteria that were applied at that time.
Stacy, with
Yes.
the administrative assistant or administrative coordinator position, if we knew that that person was retiring in September, why has it taken so long to fill that position? Just curious.
Mhm. We have been working through that process. As I indicated, the city has been on a hiring freeze with the COVID process, and we have been working through that process. We did look to hire that position before the incumbent left, but we were unable to do so. So we are working to repost and hire that position. But like I said, we do have other administrative staff within the Environmental and Neighborhood Services Department that I oversee. And those individuals have assisted us tremendously in taking over some of those responsibilities so that the tasks don't go uncompleted. And we have that assistance within the department.
Stacy, it would be helpful if some of them would actually be at the shelter and help out. I mean, I'm behind the desk on occasion and they're kind of lost back there.
Thank you. We will see what we can do to assist. And we've also, like I mentioned, we have been using labor pool staff from other departments within the city where we have gaps that are identified because, we do have amazing volunteers who spend a lot of time working at our shelter, whether it's working our reception area, cleaning, dog walking. There's so many different things that the volunteers do, but we also recognize, that there are some additional gaps. And so we're trying to use some of our own city staff to fill those gaps.
I have a question. This is Susie from the advisory board. What kind of timeline are we looking at? Obviously, we don't want to rush into it, but at the same time, this is a huge position. So have you guys talked to the firm that you're going to use about the timeline that you're looking at, or how is that factoring into the process?
Absolutely. So we are working through that process with human resources right now to identify the firm that we will be using, and looking at the fact that it is going to be a national search. The time frame for that is a little longer than a city-led initiative. And on average, it can be about 4 to 6 months.
Thank you.
But we will be looking to do everything we can to expedite that. And one of the things that we will be wanting to ensure through this process is that the salary range for the position is competitive so that we can draw qualified candidates.
Besides our being more involved in the hiring process, such as looking over resumes or possibly having a candidate have a Zoom meeting with all of us, one thing that might be a nice want, I don't know how easy it would be to get, would be an applicant who had experience in opening a new shelter, since that's one place that we're going.
I think that's probably very important because we're changing horses midstream.
Hi, thank you. This is Paula again. So yes, we can definitely work with the consultant to explore options to introduce candidates to the board as appropriate at the appropriate stage in the process. So that is something, once a firm is selected, we will have further discussions about. Thank you for your input.
Another thing along those lines, obviously it's not going to be an absolutely necessary thing, but a very, very nice to have. If you have an individual that not only has experience opening a new shelter, but has some really good experience engaging the community, because you're going to have a foundation that's working on this, the board working on this, but it's a huge fundraising thing. And the more that you can get somebody that can garner the community support, especially with the change, again, goes back to those leadership skills. So anyone that has that type of experience is definitely going to be a plus.
Barbara, I know you were just able to join us a few moments ago with some technical difficulties, but we have been asking the board, excuse me, for their input regarding the qualifications and characteristics that we should be looking for in the animal services manager when we fill that position. So if you have any thoughts, we would love to hear those. Oh, Barbara, I think you're muted. You're still muted.
Do you see the unmute icon? You might need to tap on your screen.
Natalie, is it possible for you to unmute her as the organizer?
I asked her to unmute.
Barbara, if you move your mouse while on Zoom, in the bottom left hand, there should be a unmute icon.
She's on her phone.
If you're on your phone, if you drag your finger from the left to the right, there should be an unmute icon. There you go. You had it there for a second.
The icons disappear when you're not touching it, so touch the screen. And then swipe. It will allow me on my end. I can only ask her to unmute, which I've clicked on that, but it does not automatically unmute her.
Hey, Natalie, can you unmute all? And then the rest of us can mute up.
Let's try, hold on.
As hosts, we're only able to ask the participants to unmute. Zoom doesn't give us the capability to force someone to unmute.
Yeah, it just says ask all to unmute.
However, if Barbara would like to give comments, we can send a message with a number to call in. It would take us a moment to relay that.
That would be great. Thank you.
No problem. 1 moment.
Okay, while we're waiting, again, I would like to reiterate, I think what Jenna said, we really would love to see the written job description for the animal services manager. So we can see exactly what the job description is and what exactly you're looking for.
Okay. Once we take your feedback, we can put that into the job description and then share that.
We have
Well, we
Barbara
sort of
joining.
like to, sorry. No, we really would like to see what it is now, and then we will give you our input if something needs to be adjusted, Stacy. I think that's the way.
Absolutely. I would
Okay.
just like to take your input that we've gotten now and make sure we put it in and then send that to you, and you can provide any additional comments based on what you've seen.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Barbara, you look like you're unmuted, so you can talk now.
Okay. I apologize, everybody. I've had two devices here this morning that I've been trying to work with and having some problems on both. I guess I think the comments that I would have are probably those that have already been mentioned, but I would say that, of course, the experience opening a new shelter would be great, although I'm sure there are lots of good candidates who could learn that process with us. I think that navigating all the different constituencies that exist here. So they have a board. I'm not sure whether other municipal candidates, for instance, always have a board that they deal with. We have a council committee. We have, of course, the city structure, that the management structure of the city. So I think that there are lots of almost political entities that whomever replaces Catherine will need to navigate, negotiate, be comfortable moving between. And so that's one that I just don't know that every person with shelter experience is going to have. And I see that as
48
important in this role.
shrimp and scallop.
48.
Thank you. Has anyone else thought of any additional items that they wanted to add or comment on? And like I said, we will take this and incorporate it into an updated job description that then we can share, and you can provide some additional input.
All right, one more thing. I don't know how to phrase this. If maybe y'all can work on that or help me out on it. One of the things that Catherine did really well and that Sugarland does really well is its work with the local wildlife. If somebody calls about a wildlife, Catherine, the animal services, will take it to a shelter in Houston to be rehabilitated. I don't know how you're going to phrase that because, for example, with the feral hogs, other people, nuisance wildlife has to be considered in a different way. But we do, all the other cities in Fort Bend County don't do that. They don't, but we have so many citizens that need help getting wildlife that can be rescued somewhere it can go. And I don't want to lose that. We're very strong on that. And I'd like to keep that up.
Absolutely. We're not looking to change our practices. So we absolutely would want to find someone.
Yes. Yeah, we just have so many strengths and I just don't want to lose those.
And that is so strong that we've that our ordinances are written to include that. So unless we change those ordinances, that should continue.
Correct. Okay.
What are the immediate needs now I mean, what do we need? How can we help? What's going on?
Well, and like I said, we are working with a variety of city resources to make sure that the tasks for animal services, all of the different programs and things continue and fill these vacancies as quickly as we can. We are utilizing just some of the other department staff and internal within our own environmental neighborhood services department, and doing that extra outreach for additional volunteers who may be interested in working with us at the shelter. I think right now the board's biggest support and help is in, like we've been doing, developing those qualifications and characteristics for the next manager so that we can go out and as quickly as possible identify that manager and fill the position as quickly as we can.
Are those of us on the board that are very active personally in the shelter, do you feel comfortable with this? Do you have any questions? Do you want to speak to other board members that are, I mean, less aware of what's going on at the shelter than you are?
Are there immediate needs at the shelter that the board should know about?
No, we are addressing the daily tasks that need to be completed. I don't think there's any immediate needs at the moment that we haven't already been able to address. We are working on some internal maintenance through our facilities division to bring in some more efficient and reliable laundry equipment and some building repairs. But we are already in the process of working with our facilities division on those items.
I'm planning on being there like the next 2 days, so I'll send an email out to the board and let you guys know. And Stacy, I'll definitely include you in the email, okay?
I think we may need to, I think Meredith may need to make a comment.
If you could send that email to Stacy and let her send it out, you will not have an Open Meetings Act violation. She can then disseminate it as information provided by staff. If you have a conversation amongst yourself in an unposted meeting, we might have a little discussion instigated by the district attorney and cause us all to lose a little bit of sleep. So if you could funnel that through Stacy and make sure that your conversations all come through the city so that we can send it back out, I can keep you legally sound.
Thanks for keeping me honest, Meredith.
I think what's important, folks, is Stacy and Nicole, keep us involved. Let us know what's going on. I think there's not one of us, well, I guess Susie and maybe Robin, the ones that are so active volunteering in the shelter, knew that there was a major problem. Other than we've got it, we thank goodness to Robin for saying, hey, we need to meet. I think you have to be more, I hate using this word transparent, but we are one entity that needs to be better hooked to animal issues in the city of Sugar Land. And I don't know, I don't think, maybe I'm just talking for myself, but I question if this communication cannot be stronger in the future.
You're not the only one that thinks that.
Marianne, you're spot on.
Thank you for providing that input. We will definitely take that into consideration and see how we can make some modifications.
Well, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that I think we were all, totally overwhelmed with this change. We didn't know that, we knew that Robbie was gone, I think. I think we all had a party, didn't we? Isn't he the one that moved? Maybe he wasn't, I don't know. And then Sabrina was gone. I mean, we knew nothing, and yet we are the board that was chosen by you folks to assist. Well, we can't assist if somebody blocks us out of the information. Thank you.
I understand, and our intent was not to exclude you. So thank you for your input.
Is there any further discussion? Do I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I second.
The meeting is adjourned.
Goodbye, all.
One.